Wild Time Cooking with Allison Davis is brought to you by Corman Kitchen and Bath.
Hey there, welcome back to Midday Kentucky. Chef Allison Davis here in the Wild Time Kitchen over in the Chenaway Kroger Shopping Center off of Alumni Drive. We do cooking classes, catering, and it is definitely that time of year. And right now we are working with pumpkin recipes. And so this is a classic Southern staple and definitely all the way to South Carolina, to Kentucky, down to Georgia, but we're talking grits. And so we're going to get right into making our grits, but our grits are going to be a little infused with some flavors of fall, with a little pumpkin and sage and some brown butter. All right, so in our saucepan right now, I just have 2 cups of chicken broth that I'm brought to a boil, and then we're going to add 1 cup of grits into our chicken broth, and we're just going to let that work. I definitely recommend cooking your grits in chicken broth or vegetable broth because you're just going to get a lot more flavor out of the grits because of the broth and the vegetables and everything that go into that. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and take our sage, and we'll just kind of chiffonade this or cut it just like in little strips, ribbon-like strips. And we're letting our grits work while they absorb the chicken broth and they work. We're going to season that with a little bit of salt and pepper. Personally, you know, I like a little bit of heat, so I'd go in with some Cajun seasoning, maybe some cayenne pepper in here, even throwing in maybe just a jalapeno diced up, right? So you can certainly make this your own, and you probably have a recipe for grits that you're used to or flavors, but this is going to bring in a little bit more of that fall flavor. All right, now on this back pan, we are working with a little bit of butter, a couple tablespoons, maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter. And we are going to let that butter melt down, and we're going to brown the butter. So I have to talk a little bit about brown butter. Brown butter is probably one of my favorite things. So when butter melts, it melts down. But then if you go a little bit further from melted to this kind of brown stage, it'll get a little bit nutty and complex in flavor. And it really just adds this wonderful depth to a lot of dishes. I've seen brown butter raviolis and brown butter gnocchi, and it's just phenomenal. And really all it is just cooking the butter a little bit further than the melted stage. Obviously there's a fine line between brown and burn, so you have to be a little bit careful and know what you're looking for. But really, for me, it's the aroma that gives you the indication that your butter is at that brown stage. It almost smells like popcorn and just this wonderful nutty aroma. So we're just going to keep kind of melting that butter down and letting that brown while our grits are cooking. All right, so our liquid is starting to get absorbed. Our grits are getting thicker as it continues to cook. We've seasoned with some salt and pepper. And then what we're going to add to this is some pumpkin puree, canned pumpkin, and then some cheddar cheese, or in this case I've got like a little mixture of like a Mexican cheese blend. I really think it works well and it melts well into a lot of dishes. And then lastly we'll add some sage. As far as plating this, you could do it with a lot of things, but I went ahead and cooked off some shrimp, and so I'm going to just add a little shrimp on top. You could throw a fried egg. I mean, there's 1,000 different ways. Grits are great served any time of day, if you ask me. So this recipe could certainly work with breakfast, lunch, or dinner. All right, once our grits are cooked, we're going to fold in our pumpkin mixture and our cheddar cheese and just let that get really nice and creamy. And then the last thing we're going to do is add that sage and that brown butter. So we're going to continue to work this butter to that brown stage. So right now you can see it just kind of melted, but it's not quite to the brown stage that I'm looking for. All right, you guys know where to find this recipe. I will mention another great thing about this adding the pumpkin into the grits with the cheese. It gives it a really beautiful color, so it's going to be a great side dish on a fall table. All right, go to middaykentucky.com/recipes to check this recipe out and many more. I'm Chef Allison Davis. Thanks so much for watching. We will be right back after this short break.